Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video, which is going to be the next episode of my makeup and movies mashup, where I'm going to be doing my makeup, playing with some new products and sharing all of my thoughts on the 5 films that I saw at the cinema over the last few weeks. We've got some absolute beauties to talk about, some great films and one of the worst films of the year so far in my opinion. So if that sounds good to you, then keep watching. Okay, so I've got a bit of a mix of old and new today. I've got one of the Lancome liquid eyeshadows. This is the shade 01 that they sent to me and I've never tried it before, so we're going to be trying that. I've got the Tom Ford Soft Matte, which is fairly new but I have already reviewed. I'm going to be giving the Kevyn Aucoin contour book a volume 4 another go for my bronzer and contour today. I've got a new blush from Kosas. Finally got to try these blushes that I've been very excited to try out. I've also got one of the new Burberry shiny lipsticks to show you on the face. Everything will be listed down below, so if I neglect to mention something, it will be in the description box for you. So I've seen 5 films at the cinema since we last chatted makeup and movies, and they were an extremely mixed bunch, like more so than usual. I know I've told you guys before that I am a sort of horror slash thriller type of girl when it comes to my films. That's what I like. But as I have my membership to the Odeon, so if you are new here, by the way, my husband for Christmas, was it Christmas or my birthday? I forget. I can't remember. One of the two. They're very close together, okay? But my husband basically bought me a year's membership when you can go as much as you like for free to the cinema. So I've been really pushing myself to try like different styles of films. That has like fully taken off my eyeshadow base. That was probably a mistake to use an eyeshadow base today. I used my usual pot concealer from Nars and then I set it with powder, and clearly that was a bad idea. Well, this is also drying down very quickly, so this is not going to be a good eyeshadow day for me. So yeah, because I have this free pass, so it doesn't really matter. I haven't yet walked out of a film. I do keep telling myself that if it's really bad, I will. But honestly, I just enjoy being in the cinema and having a relaxing time with some snacks. So I don't know if I would walk out unless something was literally upsetting me, you know, or I don't know, was staging some kind of protest to the content of the film. I don't know if I would really walk out, to be honest. I think it's always worth seeing films through because you never know, they can improve over time. So I have been trying to see films that I wouldn't usually see, that I wouldn't have gone out of my way to sort of book and pay for, and that has been great because I've discovered some great films that I would never have usually thought that I would like. So we have got a mixed bag this month. So the films that I saw were Kinds of Kindness, MaXXXine, Despicable Me 4, that was my family film of the month, Longlegs, and Twisters, which I have spoken about before, being very excited for. So let's start off. I'm desperately trying to fix this little patch that I've made there. I don't think I can. I think I'm just going to have to give up, and we're going to have this patchy spot there for the rest of the day. So that's fantastic. So let's start off with Despicable Me 4. This is obviously my family film of the month, and we saw this in 3D. My children have really been loving the last couple of films. We saw Inside Out in 3D and then Despicable Me, and they absolutely love it. It's just an extra little bit of fun for them. They loved this film. I loved this film. We've seen all 4 of them, most of them. I think we've seen all of them, in fact, at the cinema. And we've just really enjoyed them. They're just good, wholesome fun. Again, there's nothing sort of traumatic or inappropriate for children in it. It's very funny. They did laugh a lot. The only potentially small critique that I could give this film is that the storyline is very repetitive. It's the essentially exact same story that have been in all of the Despicable Me films with like a slight twist. But yeah, other than that, we enjoyed it. Good, wholesome fun, lots of laughs. The kids both gave it, no, actually, my daughter gave it a 9. My son gave it a 10. And so I'm going to give it a 9 as well. It could have been slightly more varied as far as the storyline for me, but you know what you're going to get with a Despicable Me film. There was also a lot of minion action, which we love. They're very, very funny and lovable. So yeah, I'm giving it a solid 9. So next, let's talk about kinds of kindness. This was an experience, okay? Now I have seen a Yorgos Lanthimos film before. I've seen several of them, in fact. The most recent was Strange Things. No, wait, Poor Things. Strange Things. There are many strange things. The name of the film was Poor Things. And obviously Poor Things, you know, was a very strange, bizarre, crazy film. For sure, he makes, you know, bonkers movies. We are all aware of that. But I quite enjoyed Poor Things, although it was bizarre and weird and bonkers the entire way through. I still felt like it was an interesting storyline. I still felt like it was very funny in lots of places as well. I did laugh a lot during that film. It was entertaining. The plot line was followable and it had a lot of good as well as being crazy. You know what I mean? This eyeshadow is potentially the worst thing I've ever done. And I know it's my fault because I applied it on top of concealer, so we're gonna have to give this another go, a fairer go on just on a bare eyelid at some point, because I feel like I've butchered it and it's really, we can't blame the product. I think that was a me problem, a user error. So Kinds of Kindness is a triptych, so it's 3 sort of mini films in one. And I did not like this. I did not like it. It is crazy and weird and bizarre, just like Poor Things, but without any of the redeeming qualities. I didn't find any of it funny. It's supposed to be an absurdist sort of black comedy. I didn't laugh. I didn't find any of it funny. I found some of it grotesque and just horrible. And not particularly clever, not particularly interesting. I did think Emma Stone's and Jesse Plemons, who are sort of the main characters in the 3 stories, did an excellent job. They're always fantastic with, you know, what they're given. It's just really, the storylines just didn't really make much sense. They didn't really have much of a path. And I really didn't see the connection to the kindness theme that I was expecting either. I guess it's one of those that I just didn't get it. It's just not for me. It obviously isn't my type of film. So, you know, to be fair to it, it's just I'm obviously not the target audience for these films. But, you know, you could say that also about Poor Things, but I still enjoyed it and I still could fully see the appeal and I could see the, you know, the redeeming qualities of it. I could see what they were going for from a cinematic, creative perspective. But this, I just didn't. You know, there was a bit of variation between the 3 stories. So the first one was probably the most interesting, with the most sort of actual storyline to it that I could follow, and maybe the least bizarre. You know, they're all pretty bizarre, but the first of the 3 stories. At that point, I wasn't worried. I thought, yeah, this is okay. You know, obviously it's weird because it is a Yorgos film, but it was followable, slightly entertaining and amusing, and, you know, a decent start to the 3. But the middle story was so bad and uncomfortable and bizarre to me that then it just went all downhill. The 3rd story was kind of slightly better again, but that middle one was just horrific, and it felt like it was just gore and unnecessary disgustingness for like shock value and nothing else. And I'm just like, it just felt gratuitous grimness, and I didn't enjoy it at all. This was a 3. Okay, I went back and forth on the score, and I think that middle story really lowered it. The first story, it could have been more of a 4, but that middle story was like a 0. So the number I came up with across the board for the 3 was a 3, and like 2 of those points were for the first story, 1 was for the last story. It was like minus points in the middle. So I'm landing on a 3. I just didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't enjoy any of the 3 stories. One was slightly more tolerable than the others. I didn't get it. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't laugh. I'm so sorry. The actors deserve a couple of points because I just don't know how they get through any of it, to be honest, especially not with a straight face. Just not that funny, not that clever, not that shocking actually, unless we're just solely relying on gore. It just all felt like it just fell short for me. I'm so sorry about it. But if you just want to go and, you know, be absolutely appalled by something, then maybe you will enjoy it a lot more than me, particularly that middle story. So moving on to MaXXXine, a much better experience. Okay, for a start, this film is just much more up my street. It's much more my typical type of film that I love on paper, you know, more of a sort of classic horror, thriller, mash up with a really great storyline. So MaXXXine focuses on the main character, of course, MaXXXine, played by Maya Goth, and she was unbelievable. This is one that I wasn't really excited for because of the trailer. Again, I feel like we've had some really shoddy trailers so far this year. There's been so many films that I've been put off by because the trailers just haven't done the films justice, and this was one of them. I felt like in the trailer MaXXXine's character came off as very annoying and brash, and actually in the film she's much better rounded than I think the trailer kind of gave her credit for, and actually much more likable than I thought she was going to be. It also features Elizabeth Debicki and Kevin Bacon, which I wasn't expecting. I don't know if I knew he was in the film until he popped up in a very different role for him. Both of those characters I just loved throughout for different reasons, but I loved this. So the main character MaXXXine, she is an adult film star who is trying to sort of make it in mainstream films in like the 80s Hollywood world. The 80s styling just really did it for me in this film. From the clothes to the hair and the makeup and just the styling in general, the way everything was filmed. It was living, breathing, eating, bleeding 80s, and I loved that. That was just such a treat for me. That's the decade I was born, of course. I love a bit of 80s styling and theming and fashion, and I loved all of it. It was absolutely glorious on the screen, so I loved that 80s vibe of everything. It wasn't particularly scary for me, but I am pretty bulletproof these days when it comes to like scary films. I'll go on my own and see pretty much any scary film these days, and most of the time I'm fine. I didn't find this particularly terrifying, but obviously that's going to be an individual thing. The one issue that I had with this, I loved the storyline. It's got a great, interesting, gripping storyline. So while MaXXXine is trying to make it as a legitimate actor in mainstream films coming from adult film, there is also a serial killer on the loose, and she starts to get some attention from them. So that's all I'm going to tell you. I don't want to give you any spoilers, but that's kind of the journey of the plot, and it's a really great, really interesting, lots of twists and turns. MaXXXine is a very interesting character with many layers that we love, and there's some also backup characters that are really interesting as well. I loved the storyline, the plot, the flow of the film. The one thing that stopped this from being like a 10 out of 10 for me is it is extremely gory. Extremely gory, and I don't like gore. Okay, I like a scary film, I like a thriller, I like a horror film, but I don't like the gore in them. I don't like them to be super gory. I don't find that necessary. I don't enjoy it, and this was unbelievably gory. Like, it was not like people are getting, you know, ripped to pieces every 5 minutes. It's not like that. It's just that the gore that there is like so intense and so realistic and up close and graphic. I wasn't a fan of it. Like, it literally a couple of times, like, I couldn't watch. Like, it was just gross. So you have been warned. If you're not really a gore fan, this is one of the goriest, most intense, like up close and personal gore right there, that I have seen for a while. So for me, this was an 8 because of that. It was just a little too gory for my taste, my preference, and that like turned my stomach slightly. I don't enjoy gore, as I said, but other than that, I really loved it. I just could have done without so much of the guts in my face. So moving on, Twisters. I can't tell you how excited I have been for this film. The original film Twister. Was it Twister? The original? I think it was. I think there was no S in the original. So Twister is like one of my all-time favorite sort of films that I watched growing up. It's so nostalgic for me. I loved that film when I was like, you know, a teen. Growing up, I probably watched it 5 or 6 times in my life. It's one of those I never get bored of. I absolutely loved it. So this was very nostalgic for me. I've been very excited as soon as I saw that this was coming out. Originally, I thought this was like a sequel. You know, the S kind of led me to believe this. It was a sequel to the original, but it's actually like a remake. But having said that, the story is quite a bit different. It's obviously focused on tornadoes still, you know, that it does have in common. And it's, you know, about a group of people who are like scientists working specifically with storms to try and improve like people's safety and save lives with better technology, better predictions, and better warning systems so that they can have earlier warnings and be more accurate with where the storm is going to save lives. So that is all the same. But again, without giving you any spoilers, there's definitely some differences in the plot, in the storyline. When it first started, the first sort of 10 minutes, I was worried, okay? I was worried because the cast were like so much younger than in the original film, and it sort of felt, although obviously not the same type of film, I was getting like Twilight vibes, like just from like the age of the cast. That's kind of the age that the film felt. It felt so much younger. You know, the original, it's like they're, you know, they're grown adults, they're scientists, the top of their field. They can't be teenagers, you know, they're very experienced. They've had a lot of time in higher education, and then they've been working in their profession, in their field for years. They can't be 18, they haven't had time. Whereas in the opening sort of sequence of this film, I don't know how old the characters were supposed to be, but they looked and felt like maybe they were sort of 20 at max. So I was getting worried. I was like, oh no, they've made it a much, much younger film. This is just not what I was hoping it would be. And it felt unrealistic that there would be this group of like tornado experts who were, you know, still in university. That I'm not sure what was happening there. They just felt too young. So I was concerned, but quite quickly, I'm going to try not to give you too many spoilers about this film because I know a lot of you will still want to see it and will be yet to see it. But that bit of the film, it has an opening bit that feels very young and very different, and then it's like it cuts to like a few years later. So that was much better for me. I was worried that they've made it into like a teenager's film. And, you know, I was expecting some grown adults, but it doesn't last. That bit doesn't last very long. So initially I was a bit disappointed, but it didn't last very long, that bit. There really isn't much resemblance to the initial film as far as the original film, sorry, as far as the like plot line. It is quite different, other than the fact that we're dealing with storms and storm chasers. So they have made quite a lot of changes. So bear that in mind. If you're expecting it to be a remake of the original story, it's not. It's quite a different sort of story, quite a different set of people and circumstances. But I really enjoyed it. It was entertaining. The effects are fantastic. The storyline was great. I liked that it was a little different, so I didn't know exactly what was going to happen because it was a little different to the original. So I did actually appreciate that. So for me, this was an 8. I enjoyed it. It actually improved a lot throughout, I felt. I felt like halfway through, I'd have probably given this like a 7. but it built really, really well, and the characters kind of grew and became much more likable as you got to know more about them. The character development was really, really great. Bike riders could have learned something from the character development that went on in Twisters, because I feel like almost all the characters were quite unlikable towards the beginning of the film, but they sort of grew and you got to understand them more as the film went on, and you warmed to them and really started to root for them, and that all improved. So it literally climbed really nicely for me, and by the end I was like, yeah, this is like an 8, 8.5. You know, I actually really enjoyed it. Did I prefer it to the original? Obviously not, but it was solid. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. 8. I can't believe how bad this eyeshadow looks. I'm so sorry, Lancome, I failed you. But now we come to my favourite film of the month by some way, and one of my favourite films of the year so far, Longlegs. Let me tell you, I flipping love this. I've been having a look at like the reviews online and they are so mixed. It's so interesting. There's lots of people like me who absolutely loved it, and then there's a lot of people who didn't get it, who didn't love it as much. So it's interesting. This is not like apparently a black and white, everyone's going to love it, everyone's going to think it was amazing, but I really did. So Longlegs is about, it focuses on an FBI agent who is investigating a series of family murders. So entire families who've been murdered. And it looks like, because no one else appears to have been in the house, it looks like one of the family members, it's like a murder-suicide situation, but not everything quite adds up. And they're finding these sort of coded letters at the scenes that they don't know where they came from, and no one in the house wrote them. So that's telling them that there's a serial killer out here, but how is he serial killing people without entering the house? That's kind of the case that the FBI are looking into. And our lead character here, Agent Lee Harker, played by Micah Monroe. So she has a bit of a shining, if you're familiar with the term. She has this little bit of like instinct, and it's nothing like crazy sort of supernatural, but the initial case where she sort of gets onto like the FBI top bosses who are working on the Longlegs case, she gets onto their radar because she goes to sort of look for, like, canvass door to door and speak to neighbours about another case. And as soon as she gets out the car, she just knows where the suspect is. Like, she gets this sense he's in this house, and she was right. And so she falls onto the sort of top dogs in the FBI's radar. They're stuck on this case. They don't know even where to start with it. And she seems to have these like crazy instincts that just come out of nowhere for stuff. So they think, let's have a look at this Longlegs case, see if she can have any little brain waves, any little, you know, pops of these shining moments, and she can help us like have a clue where to start with this case. So as a young FBI agent, she starts working on this Longlegs case, which is like the sort of biggest mystery that they're dealing with, the biggest case in the FBI currently. If you're wondering why it's called Longlegs, why I keep calling it the Longlegs case, it's because those coded letters that are in sort of this code that no one knows what the letters mean, they're signed off Longlegs. So they write this crazy code with all these like numbers and letters, no one knows what any of it means, and then at the end it's signed off every time Longlegs. So it's pretty freaky deaky. Okay, let me tell you, I knew because it was in the credits. So the credits for this film were at the beginning of the film, and I didn't know until I was watching the credits prior to the film that Nicolas Cage was in this film. Okay, and it says that he plays Longlegs, so Nicolas Cage as Longlegs, says that in the credits. So I know Nicolas Cage is in this film, and I know he's playing Longlegs. Let me tell you, when we first get a glimpse of this person, even though I know that's Nicolas Cage, it said it in the credits, I'm struggling to get my head around the fact that that was Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is not someone that I see on a film's sort of advertising and think this is gonna be fantastic. This is going to be great. I don't feel like Nicolas Cage is really known for like his acting chops. I feel like he's in very sort of low level roles, like not like, obviously he's a big star. What I mean by that is that he's never really playing super challenging, unbelievable characters. In my mind, I sort of associate him with sort of like lower, you know, more casual stuff. I could not, but the performance, Nicolas Cage has been wasted. Okay, I'm just going to say that now. Nicolas Cage has been wasted in Hollywood. He played this character unbelievably well. I was so disturbed and afraid of this person. He's terrifying, and I can't see him in there, even though I'm looking at this man and I know that's Nicolas Cage, and I'm literally trying to search his face to find Nicolas Cage in there somewhere, to recognize a glimpse of him. I can't do it. I don't know how he did it, but he was unreal in my opinion. I feel like he played this character, which is a hard, challenging, creepy, bizarre character, incredibly well. I literally still now I'm looking, I can't see him in there. It's unnerving. I absolutely loved this film. It was like, the unnerving is the word. It was terrifying me, even though it wasn't like, you know, people jumping out, jump scare. It was unnerving, disturbing, terrifying. It haunted me. It was one of those where I'm like driving home afterwards and I'm like locking my doors in broad daylight because it spooked me. It really did. It was so gripping, so good. Twists and turns, interesting storyline. I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was right up my street, exactly my type of film that I love. I was going with a 10. I was so close to going with a 10. I'm going to go 9.5, and I'll tell you where that half a point went, okay? Where it went is I would have loved to know a little bit more about, I don't know if I want to tell you without, I don't know what I can say without giving you a spoiler, but there's a character, a very, very interesting character. I want to know the background of the character. I want to know how they came to be, how they were, and I wanted to know a little bit more about that. There could easily be a sequel of this film for sure. I feel like if I had known just that little bit of, there'd been that little bit of background story explaining this character, it would have been a solid 10. It's so close. I'm going to go 9.5 because I loved it. I loved everything about it. That's just that half a mark that would have sent it over the top. I loved it so much. I enjoyed it. It's terrified me. It haunted me in the best way. I know it sounds weird that I would enjoy that, but there's something wrong with me, okay? I don't know what it is. Okay, so here is my finished makeup of the day. I'm so sorry to Lancome that I made such a hash of the application of this. I'm definitely going to give it another go before I deliver my verdict in my July roundup. I will try it again without what I did today. I think what I should have done in hindsight is maybe applied a bit to the back of my hand and then gone in with a finger, or I should not have gone in with concealer and powder before it today. So I'll play around a little more because I like the effect, I like the shade, and I think I could like these, but I did not do a good job with it today. I misused it. So I'm not going to deliver my full verdict. Obviously it looked terrible today. It took a lot of work for me to cover up the mistake that I made. You know, it picked up the base that I had put down and then it was very patchy, and then I've had to apply too much and now it's creasing and it just does not look good at all from close up. I promise you, it doesn't look good, but I think it's mostly my fault. That being said, my favorite sort of product like this, the Lisa Eldridge shadows, liquid lurex I think they're called, I love, and I can apply these over my concealer and powder no problems, much easier. This also dried down quite quickly, so once I realized the mistake I was having, I then found it a little tough to blend. So again, I think I get a bit more time with the Lisa Eldridge to blend and move them before they set down. So I don't know that I'm going to love this as much for that reason, but they do deserve a second chance because today was not a fair test. It was my bad. You guys already know how I feel about this foundation. It's like my favorite ever long wearing foundation. That's why I'm using it today, because it's my children's last day of school today, and then we're having the usual, we have a big picnic in the park after their last day of school with everybody all together, and we say goodbye to like the year sixes and all of their friends and things like that for the summer. So I wanted my foundation to wear really well today, and so that's why I've gone for that one, because it's so amazingly long wearing. So the Kevyn Aucoin palette, if you watch my review, I'm continuing to enjoy this. I find it really versatile. Today I used it as a bit of bronzer in the crease. I didn't use the contour today, but I did use the highlighter, which I really like. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I'm still getting a lot of use out of it. The Kosas blush, I picked up the shade Dreamland, and I do love it. It is a very pretty blush. It's got that gorgeous glow to it. It has a bit of a shift to it that I wasn't expecting. Can you see there? It almost goes a bit sort of silvery, which I don't love. I love the sort of the pinky, like sort of pinky peachy shade that we see there, but when it sort of shifts, it goes almost like a sort of lilac-y, and you can really see that on my cheek, and I don't love that. Like, that's kind of throwing things slightly off for me. So I don't know if I picked up the wrong shade. I like the finish. It's super glowy and pretty on the skin, but I perhaps didn't love that shade as much as I expected to. So I will keep playing around with it and different products, and maybe if they become more easily available here, I'll pick up another shade. Maybe that's just not the right shade for my skin tone, and give those another try. But my first impressions were I didn't love it as much as I expected to, so I was a little sad. These Burberry lipsticks, I love them. This is the shade Today, Kensington Crush, and it's just the perfect everyday nude. They're quite versatile, these. I applied it quite lightly today, but if you build it up, you can definitely get a bit more impact of colour. They feel so nice and comfortable on the lips. They've got that lovely bit of shine to them. Very, very juicy. I went back for more shades after I tried the first one that I purchased, and that says it all really. I love the packaging. They're very, very nice. I don't like these as much as the Lisa Eldridge. The Lisa Eldridge finish of her Warm Embrace is just a bit more juicy than these, but they are a lovely formula. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the 5 films that I saw at the cinema over the last few weeks. Please let me know if you have seen any of these films. I would love to know your thoughts, especially on Kinds of Kindness, because maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one who didn't get it. Maybe that genre is just not for me. That filmmaker is just not for me. I don't think, but please let me know if those, you absolutely love them, you totally get it, you find them hilarious. Please let me know why I'm wrong. I would love to learn in the comments section. Also, let me know if you've seen Longlegs. What did you think? Because it seems to be very divisive, and I'm intrigued to know what people loved, what people didn't like. Let me know all of your thoughts, as always, in the comments section down below. But I hope you enjoyed this video today. Thank you so much for watching, and I would love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.